Half of all Kubernetes clusters route traffic through a controller that stops getting security patches March 2026. That's Ingress-NGINX, and one of these annotations is an attack vector. Gateway API went GA in October 2023. The EOL was announced November 11, 2025. March 2026. Repositories moved to Kubernetes, retired, read-only forever. No patches, no fixes, no exceptions. Any CVE discovered after March won't be patched upstream. SOC2 auditors are already flagging it. PCI DSS blocks production deployments with EOL software in the request path. This isn't technical debt. It's a hard compliance deadline that blocks customer onboarding. Ingress collapsed everything into one resource. The platform team owns the load balancer. The app team owns routing rules. Both wrote to the same YAML, and all behavior lived in untyped annotation strings tied to one controller. Gateway API splits it into three. GatewayClass is the infrastructure contract, which controller handles traffic. Gateway is the concrete entry point. Listeners, TLS, ports. HTTPRoute is the routing rules. 3 resources, 3 teams, clean separation of concerns. Install the CRDs server-side. 3 cluster scope types: GatewayClass, Gateway, and HTTPRoute. These are Kubernetes native, not controller plugins. Works on any cluster running 1.30 or later. Here's the split. The Gateway resource owns the listener. HTTPS on port 443. TLS termination mode, certificate reference. The platform team ships this once. App teams never touch it. HTTPRoute attaches to that gateway with parent refs. The app team writes host names, path matching, and backend weights. Canary traffic is a typed backend refs weight field, not a canary weight annotation string. 80% stable, 20% canary. Path rewrites were a rewrite target annotation in Ingress. In Gateway API, it's a URL rewrite filter with typed path replacement. Header modification was a configuration snippet annotation. Now it's request header modifier with add and remove arrays. No more string parsing. Core filters are mandatory across all Gateway API implementations. Request header modifier, response header modifier, URL or rewrite, request redirect, request mirror. Every conformant controller must support these 5. No vendor lock-in at the filter layer. For implementation-specific features beyond the core set, Extension Ref lets you escape to a custom CRD. Regex rewrites, advanced rate limiting, custom auth. This is the typed vendor extension point. Same escape hatch, structured instead of strings. So how do you migrate thousands of Ingress resources? Install Ingress-NGINX Gateway. Point it at your Ingress YAMLs with the Ingress-NGINX provider flag. It prints Gateway API equivalents to stdout. Redirect to a file, review, apply. It translates what it can. Rewrite target maps to URL rewrite. Canary weight maps to backend refs weight. SL redirect maps to the Gateway listener protocol. But here's what it tells you it cannot do. Configuration snippet has no Gateway API equivalent. AuthURL needs an implementation-specific extension ref. Here's what doesn't translate automatically. Custom configuration snippets that inject raw NGINX config. Lua-based plugins embedded in annotations. Virtual server and transport server. The NGINX specific CRDs. The tool converts core Ingress resources only, not the entire NGINX ecosystem. It is under active development with ongoing work to support the most widely used annotations. That tells you the upstream tool still has gaps. In 2024, an annotation validation bypass let an attacker with Ingress create permission, inject arbitrary commands, and read every secret in your cluster. That's CVE 2024-7646. Annotations weren't just messy, they were attack surface. Gateway API G8 in Kubernetes 1.28 in October 2023. But you don't need the latest Kubernetes to get the latest Gateway API. The CRDs install separately. As long as you're running Kubernetes 1.30 or later, you're good. Just apply the release YAML and you're current. No cluster upgrade needed to get the latest Gateway API features. Here's the attachment model. HTTP route declares a parent ref pointing to the gateway by name. The gateway listener specifies which routes it allows. At runtime, the controller validates the hostname match between the route and the listener. If it passes, the controller binds the route. This is validated at runtime by the controller, not just at YAML apply time. Role separation has a new failure mode you need to plan for. The attachment can fail at apply time or at runtime. The hostnames of an HTTP route must match the hostname of the gateway listener. That's now a runtime constraint, not just YAML or ML validation. The 1.0 release of Ingress to Gateway cleaned up the formatting and content of notifications, so it's clear what is missing and how you can fix it. Surfacing subtleties and untranslatable behavior is as important as translating the happy path. The tool won't lie to you about what it can't do. Here's what HTTPRoute filters give you that annotations never could. Path-based routing rules map directly to HTTPRoute routing rules with typed path prefix or exact match. Host header-based routing maps to HTTPRoute hostnames. Header matching, query parameter matching, weighted traffic distribution, all typed fields. Regex support is implementation-specific via extension ref. GatewayClass is cluster-scoped and represents a class of gateways that can be instantiated. Each gateway class is supported by one and only one gateway controller. You get it with Kubernetes GatewayClass. This is the contract layer that decouples your routing config from the controller implementation. Gateway instantiates a gateway class with listeners. You get it namespaced with Kubernetes Gateway-A. It's an entry point to your cluster, a cloud load balancer that directs incoming traffic to appropriate destinations. This is what the platform team owns and what app teams attach routes to. HTTPRoute is namespaced. You get it with Kubernetes HTTPRoute-A. Routes attached to gateways with parent refs and define path-based and header-based routing rules. In Ingress, each hostname had separate routing rules. In HTTPRoute, routing rules apply to all hostnames in the list. That's a behavioral difference you need to test. Migrating from Ingress-NGINX presents the daunting task of capturing all nuances and mapping behavior to Gateway API. The tool is under active development with ongoing work to support the most widely used annotations. Complex regex rewrites, custom configuration snippets, and Lua-based plugins will need manual conversion. You will need to manually review the converted resources, test functionality, and make additional configuration changes. The Ingress API itself isn't deprecated. It's not scheduled for removal. It's feature frozen. No new capabilities will be added, but it stays in Kubernetes indefinitely. All new networking innovation happens in Gateway API instead. Gateway API is where all new innovation happens. That's the strategic direction for Kubernetes networking. Every new feature, every new capability, every enhancement, it all lands in Gateway API. What you gain from the migration: typed configuration cuts, attack surface by eliminating string injection. Role separation lets platform and app teams move independently without stepping on each other. Portability across controllers without rewriting vendor annotations. And you pass the SOC 2 audit. The Ingress to Gateway tool supports a wide range of NGINX specific annotations: session affinity, canary routing, CORS headers, backend protocol hints, TLS pass-through. But K-Gateway's fork adds even more: authentication, rate limiting, service upstream. That gap tells you what the upstream tool still doesn't translate. Quick recap. Install the Gateway API CRDs server-side. Run Ingress to use Gateway with the Ingress-NGINX provider to see what auto-translates. Manually convert the annotations with no Gateway API equivalent. Snippets, Lua, CRDs. Test the HTTP routes against your actual traffic patterns. Cut over before March 2026, when the repositories go read-only. The tooling launched in October 2023 with Gateway API 1.0 GA. The announcement came November 11, 2025. The deadline is March 2026. This is a planned transition that the ecosystem prepared for years in advance, but only if you start the migration now. If you liked this, hit subscribe. If you didn't, blame the annotations.